And the little thing just came up. Okay, so I'm recording now. Good morning. Um, Quincy he's been having Wi-Fi problems, and so he was on and he's off. I'm actually going to post his video shortly. He sent me his video on time, and so his Wi-Fi didn't work. Some of you know this probably better than me. He didn't bring his book home like he's supposed to, so I dropped one off at his house, and so I left it there, and then I sent a message out like, hey, somebody tell him, and somebody told me he got the message. So he did his video at, I think, 2 in the morning.
Yeah, he
And
asked for help.
go ahead, go Finny.
It was like 3 in the morning, and he asked me for help on it.
Yeah, so he was very upset, and he looks really rough in the video. He did the video, I'll post the video, but Quincy was having a very difficult time. And he's all good. So, but he has had some Wi-Fi problems, and it's funny because, and we'll talk about Summers and Quincy's in a minute, their presentations. But he tried. So, if you remember Summers' presentation, she said something like, "Hey, if you don't know me by now, then clearly there's something wrong because I've been here for years." So Quincy starts his out, "Hello, I'm Quincy, and if you don't know me, then what's wrong with you?" or something like that. He's like it's like Summers and then a lighter version of Summers. So, but it's fine. So we're going to talk about those in a minute. I'm going to share screen here in a second. And again, so Quincy, I get it, but as far as where Hayden is, Hayden might be dead to me. I don't know. We'll have to see. So if I can get this to come up. All right. So that's not what I want. There we go. Look, there's a dog. So I want to go through some things. I don't know this is going to take a full half hour, but I want to talk about specifically the two presentations, and I need your help. We'll talk about how I need your help in a second. So these are little icons I decided to use because they amused myself. And you can, and by the way, here's the deal. So you don't have to show Sally all that if that's going to be, you do it, but if it's annoying, you can leave it off because, I'll record this, so I'll post the recording later. So whatever Sally wants to do is up to you, and Sally can manipulate that on your own. I'm going to try to use cute little animals as best I can. I think this is a baby hedgehog. I don't think they taste good, so I don't know if that makes any difference. But does anyone have anything good or fun to share or say? We haven't seen each other for a couple weeks. I don't know if there's any new like future college things or whatever else. What do we have going on? Anything anybody wants to share? SCHNARS is
Matthew committed.
You did. You're going to Toledo.
I am.
Outstanding. That's very cool. That's what the T-shirt is right there?
Yeah.
May I ask the question, because I know you had many choices, what made you select Toledo over Cincinnati or anything else? Did you apply to Cincinnati?
Well, I didn't apply to UC. I applied to like Xavier and stuff.
That's what okay, yeah. So why Toledo, if I may ask?
Honestly, I don't know. I didn't really think about Toledo until I went and visited. And it's a really nice school. It's got like 20,000 kids. You still got a class size of about 30. All the sports there are D1, which obviously I'm not going to athletics, but going to like events and stuff to watch people. And it's just a really nice campus, and it's got a really cool feel to it when you're there. I don't know.
Isn't like downtown Toledo kind of nice too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think I drove past through there once or something, and it's on the lake, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's cool. Okay, very nice. Well, congratulations. That's awesome. I see Finn and SCHNARS. They're unmuted. I don't know if you have something you want to say or what.
No.
Cameron and Nat and Jaden are also unmuted. Again, and Kylie, if you have something to say, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. We got anything from anybody?
No.
It's nice to see you all so early in the morning. I actually just scarfed down my delicious breakfast right before we started. I see Summer is finishing up, so good for Summer. Properly taking care of her nutrition. All right, so let's get into this classroom management stuff. Some things, all of this stuff, I believe, I don't think there's anything new I'm giving you. It's all posted. This is the stuff for this week. We know about Summers. I flip-flop this. This is the original due date of stuff. I flip-flop these things for you. And then we've got the yellow wallpaper from Quincy, and then Lila with happy ending stuff. And I'm really interested. Lila, I'm assuming you've read this already? You've read happy endings?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did.
It's pretty weird, isn't it?
Yeah. It's messed up.
It is messed up, and I'm thankful with my children like a room away that we're not going to discuss this short story right now. So I highly recommend everyone read all of these things, and we'll talk about quizzes in a second. But before we do that, here's next week's stuff. So I know you know this. I know it's posted, but this is a reminder. 427, and we have a day off. I put these 1 days off there for the first couple weeks, just in case we had a reason why we couldn't do them. But so here's the stuff that's going to be coming up next week: Meet the President, and then Jesus Shaves. Have you read that yet, Garrett?
I've not, but I'm scheduled to read it sometime this weekend.
Well, that's good. Let me ask, and I didn't know this, but then I saw you chose it. And so, Garrett, what made you choose that story, Garrett?
Well, I know a good amount about Jesus and like his whole, that thing, but
That thing
I kinda
being
figured
Christianity.
Yes, I kind of figured that I would be able to comprehend that better than most of the other options that I had.
Okay. I'll come back to you in a second, and then job history and the Shabbat, which is a really, really good story. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, and who's got that one, and Hayden's not here, I think that's like, she is a graphic novel artist. So that's a really interesting one too. So David Sedaris, this is just leaping ahead because we're going to talk about the authors today for both Quincy and for Summer. But David Sedaris is a pretty interesting guy. He is gay. He is a satirical author. And so knowing the two things I just told you, so Garrett, be sure you may want to dive in and check that story out.
Yeah. Yep. Now that I know that.
Just as a heads up, so you want to be aware of that. One of David Sedaris is awesome and very funny, and one of my favorite books is his book called Me Talk Pretty One Day, because as a child he had a speech impediment and couldn't speak, and so he was just very quiet and very, very nervous and stuff, and he talks about that. It's great, but it's also irreverent and profanity and all those fun things.
Nice.
Which is, of course, why we're not doing that in class. And so let's move on to other things here. We'll talk a little bit about this. The next section I cut out, so we'll talk about it here. Here's for the third and last book. I know you all know this. I have had a couple students tell me that they either don't have their book or have not found their book. This is the early heads up. So on 428, 7.0 is due. Remember, that means that you're giving me all of 5 and 6. All of it. You're giving me the 6 pages or so. And then 1 new page of the third book. And remember, this first one is just a summary of the third book. So it's kind of like, please read it. And now you guys are kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel with your books. Like most of you chose 2 that were pretty popular, but the third book is like the least popular of all of them. So in some cases, the stuff available online for them is not very good. So you want to be mindful of that when it comes to that first page. And then 5.1, and then 5.2, that date is wrong. It should have been, I think it was 5.10. So I'll amend that later. And I want to also mention that as we get to, so now we're in May, and a month after that, that's about when we're hopefully supposed to come back. I don't know if that's going to happen, but you know how that date stuff works, and SCHNARS is shaking her head too. I'm shaking my head as well. I don't know, but let's be hopeful. Assuming we come back, that last month is going to be really fine-tuning the paper, because the paper's done. I mean, maybe we have to add a page or something like that, but the paper's finished. But then doing some poetry, and then that's the year, man. We're almost there. Let me pause now for a chance for questions about the third paper or paper stuff. Any questions about that right now? We'll take a moment and pause. Jaden making noise in the background, which made her mic turn on or something like that. So if there's no questions, that's cool. But and I do believe you understand what it's expected of you. But I want to make sure this is a chance to ask. And no one. All right. So now we're going to try to do something amusing, and let's talk about this. I offered the juniors. The juniors are all scared, and some of them are mad. That's a whole other thing. Friday, I'm going to be doing what I normally do. That's tomorrow, doing food delivery and stuff. I'd like to get some volunteers. Here's how this is going to work. and I drive right past some of your houses. I'm not mentioning any names, Angeletti, but I go past some houses. So what I'm going to do on tomorrow, if people are willing, we need a couple volunteers. I also drive right past the SCHNARS house, and that van is always like right on the fog line, right on that white line there at the edge. And I'm wondering, I don't know if Kylie can talk about why it's not in the driveway since you have a driveway, but that'll work out for us because since she's not in the driveway, you have a hoop at your house, don't you, SCHNARS?
Yes, I do.
Very good. So we need volunteers. Here's how it's going to work. You know your reading schedule for next week. The juniors are reading the things they carried, which you all read with me as sophomores. You're roughly familiar with that book. So we're going to do this. Drive around, and I will either be in the school SUV or by myself, like in my dog. Apparently the mail just got here. Very nice. Go kill the dog. Go kill the mailman, either way. So the deal is that would like to drive around like in some fashion. All I'm going to do is like pull up at the house and like record you shooting a shot, whoever you are, and we're going to do free throws. We're not going to do 3-pointers because that just gets ridiculous. So if anybody's willing to, and don't tell me now, but if you're willing to, send me an email. Otherwise, we will simply do quizzes the whole time. So the option is for like someone or someone's shooting for quizzes, and then we'll only, if you make them, there's no quizzes. And you'll also be responsible for the juniors too, which is fun because they all, like I said, they're not doing any of this. All optional. You don't have to, but if you're interested in me pulling up, depending, if I'm in the school SUV, I'll have another teacher with me. If I'm in my own vehicle, then I will have no one with me because of social distancing. So that's up to you. So let me know. I don't care where you live. We'll drive there. We have, let's see, we had at least 2 or 3 juniors out of the district. I don't mind like driving to their houses too. I don't really care. So any questions about that before we move into actual work today? All right. Like I said, I don't know. I feel like driving past the SCHNARS house with that van. So why is that van? Why are you not in the driveway? Like, what's that all about?
I don't know. Let's go ask Ann right now.
Ask Ann right now. Say, why? How come she's not? Is she gonna yell at you? Is she gonna yell at me?
She might yell at you.
That's fine.
She doesn't really want to yell at.
By the way, she's gonna
Ah!
make sure she's on camera. I don't care if she hasn't showered. I don't care what she's wearing. Put her on camera. That'll make her even more mad.
So how come the van is never in the driveway?
Hi.
Why is the van never in the driveway?
It is in the driveway.
But like, it barely ever is, except at night. It's only in the driveway because I put it there last night.
I always park in the
No,
driveway.
you don't.
Yes, I
It
do.
is always in front of the house. Why do you have to lie? Nobody's gonna.
All right. Get away from your mother because you're gonna get beaten. All right. Let's leave your mother alone. Hello, Mrs. SCHNARS. And you're alive still. That's okay. Very good. So I didn't think that was going to quite go that way, but all right, fine. Let's move on now. So short story stuff. Now I want to talk about where you're going, where have you been first, and then I want to talk about the yellow wallpaper. I don't want to talk a long time about them because I think that both students, let me get to where we needed to be. Both students, I think, did a fine job with it. Quincy, again, when you see his video, he's exhausted. Summer's here, and if you have not watched Summer's video, please do. I think she did a very nice job. You can ignore mine or not, whatever you want to do, but I want to talk about Summer's because she chose to focus on some things, which is great. All of these short stories are complex and deep, and so Summer choosing to focus on some things is fantastic, but then there's other things that might have been missed, and I'll mention one of those in just a second. So this is what I'm going to do in wrap-ups. I will not include Summer's or Quincy's in this week's wrap-up because we're going to talk about them now. But from now on, for the short stories, if there's something I feel like you did not cover that's important or you missed, I will do that in the wrap-up, and that will give us something else to talk about. So if that makes sense. So Summer, you're here, yeah? And you can hear everything okay?
Yes.
I don't know if you're still chewing or whatever. Okay.
No.
Very good. So now I'm pretending everyone's seen Summer's video. I'm also pretending everyone read the story. It's a great story. Joyce Carol Oates stuff is pretty good. Now I want to add some things that were not, Summer didn't talk about. Summer, did you see where Ms. Oates, the author, got the idea for the story? Did you see where that came from?
No.
Joyce Carol Oates has written a lot of stuff. One of the things she had when she was younger, I think the story was written in 1966. I guess I didn't know this, but looking stuff up, I guess she wrote it for Bob Dylan. I don't know why.
Hey, Bryce.
Oh, I saw that.
Bryce,
Turn off your mic,
can you go me the water?
All right, turn off your microphone. We can hear you getting a water.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah, buddy. We can
What?
hear you 'cause you have a boom microphone like you're directing air traffic. Yes, we
Can
heard
you hear
you
me
very
right
well.
now?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
What? Okay, hold on.
Like a Verizon ad. Can you hear me now?
Well, it says my mic is turned off, so I don't get it. Okay.
Garrett,
Keep going.
Your mic is still on, Garrett.
Yep, I got it. Yep, thank you.
All right, you're welcome, Garrett. Anyway, back to where we were. Thank you. So I guess you knew Bob Dylan. She wrote the story for Bob Dylan. I have no knowledge of that. I read it today, and that's fine. Apparently, Allie has the COVID, so that's fine. Anyway, so the story is based on a serial killer that was hitting the area around the time, and so Joyce Carol Oates, being a good author, had this story about a serial killer who preyed on young girls, and that turned into the story that we have here. Next question for Summer. Again, not picking on Summer because she did anything wrong, just talking about it. Did you see, Summer, in the talk about it, did you see anything peculiar about the character Arnold Friend, the guy who is desperately trying to get the girl out of the house in the story? Did you see anything about him that was peculiar? By the way, I'll give a hint. This is for the Christian people here who do a lot of Bible reading and go to church.
Oh, he's the devil?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
So
I saw that.
there's references in the story to the fact that Arnold Friend might in fact be the devil. And so, for instance, his name is close to, in fact, his name, if you take a couple letters out, is an old fiend. Fiend being back in the day, like when we're talking about, can't even think of the book, Dante's Inferno. Fiend is devil or is a demon. So, but then there is the matter of his boots. His boots are talked about repeatedly. It's never quite clear, but he's trying to get up the steps to go into her house, and he nearly stumbles and falls. And she talks about the fact that his boots, wherever his boots are, his feet don't go all the way down into the boots. And the suggestion is that he has hooves instead of having feet, that he's actually the devil. And of course, there's a lot of talk about how he can't walk right. Finally, if you know, and it's where the name of the story comes from, the numbers written on his car. Summer, did you see anything about the numbers written on his car?
I know the numbers, but I don't know what they mean.
So he's got two different sides of his car. He's got a car that's pretty, I don't know, it's like a muscle car back in the day. It's, fast, convertible, all that stuff. And 33, 29, 17, I think is that the numbers, I think? Those refer to a specific, and I won't spoil it now because it's something you look at, but those refer to a specific Bible quote or specific Bible passage in which it's talking about the choices you make and how it can lead you to death and to hell and to damnation and all that stuff, which is what the numbers mean as well. So that's the specific reference that goes to it. So there's a lot of biblical stuff in it. And I'll throw one last thing out there, which is not Bible stuff. And if you wanted to do this story like it's a horror story, you have the idea, first of all, and I don't know if you have your book or not, but I'm going to fish mine out here in just a second. It ends very ambiguously. The movie ends, which is called Smooth Talk. It's not a great movie, but people like it more now. I don't know why. The movie ends with her getting in the car and going. Well, obviously nothing good's going to happen there, but in the story, it ends with like her seeing a wide open country, which I don't know if anybody wants to play with that. Summer, what do you think that means at the end of the story?
I don't know. The only thing I found on that was that was like her going to the afterlife, like what she saw.
Okay. And so what does that mean? I mean, the afterlife is heaven or hell. I mean, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it means something like that. If we've already got Bible quotes and references and stuff like that, that's what it is. And I think Nat Angeletti asked a question like, "Why did you choose that story?" And if you don't mind, like, I know you've answered the question in Google Classroom, but do you mind repeating like what your answer was there roughly? Like, why did you choose that story? You were one of the first people to choose. Why did you choose this one?
So I read summaries of all of them and rated them on how interested I was, and I like kind of dark themes, and that was probably one of the darkest ones, so that's the one I chose.
Okay, well, it is pretty dark, and again, remembering if you didn't know that she's basing it on the story of a serial killer, that's where that comes from. And I want to add one other thing, again, like a horror story thing. He never comes in the house. He says he can knock the house down. He says it's a house made out of cardboard. I can do whatever I want, but he never comes in the house. So anybody other than Summer, what is that possibly a reference to? Like, what else do you know about horror stories where somebody can't come in the house?
If they're a vampire, you have to be invited in.
Yeah, so Allie, that's exactly right. If
Of
there,
course, Allie knows.
that's right. There would have to be a vampire. A vampire cannot cross the threshold until you allow him in. And the movie Smooth Talk does a really nice job of that. He's playing with the door. He's like kind of opens the door a little bit and rests his shoulder on the door frame, but he never comes in the house. He tries to get her to come out. So, and I guess one final thing, how he knows everything about her family is that he possibly is the devil. Like, how does he know, like, for 20 miles away what her father's doing at the barbecue? And how does he know that the aunt is there, that fat aunt is there? And he's like, I don't like him fat, I like him like you. How does he know all that stuff? Nobody would be able to see that far away unless you had some sort of powers or were like a bad person. So I want to move on quickly because we have a little bit of time left to Quindle's story. I know he's not here. And does anyone have anything for Summer or anything else they'd like to say about the story? Where are you going? Where have you been? And I'll wait a second. A little pause there. I think Allie really does have the COVID. You all right, buddy?
I'm going to the doctor today, so.
Can we blame this on Aiden too?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Because, hockey rinks and, guys with sweaty gloves and all that stuff. We're going to blame that on him too. Okay, so the yellow wallpaper. So Quincy did fine on this. It's a little short, but it's fine. So the yellow wallpaper, when you see Quincy's video, please pay attention to the author, because another story that's kind of like autobiographical. And I'm going to quickly go through this because I know you haven't seen his video yet. Again, my expectation is that you read or you have read. For the yellow wallpaper, it is one of the best stories. It is from a long time ago, but it's one of the best stories that examines what it's like to be a woman suffering from postpartum depression. So in the story, you have a woman who's in a room, and by the end of the story, she has gone crazy. By the end of the story, she is, I don't know if the word insane is great, but she is completely out of her mind, and she just had a baby. And she's so crazy, she wants to actually she believes that there's things in the wallpaper talking to her, and she wants to take the wallpaper out. And her husband, and this is a true story, back in the day, not even that long ago, we didn't understand what postpartum depression was. It's like PTSD. We didn't know what it was. So doctors, most of whom were men, would say, you know what, if you are suffering from postpartum depression, you just need to rest. You just need to relax. Just kind of, take it easy, lay in bed, and that's fine. When, of course, that's not true. And many women suffered in silence. Many women died as a result. And so the yellow wallpaper is a story from a very long time ago that is clearly talking about postpartum depression and the psychological toll it takes on everyone. And so when you read this story, her husband's kind of a jerk, and he wants her to just kind of relax, take it easy, but understand, like, the doctor probably would have told him to tell her that. Doesn't necessarily mean he was a bad guy or anything. I'm going to leave this for just a second. I want to know if anybody has any questions about it. And then I want to talk about how discussion is going to work next week on Blackboard. So does anyone have questions about the yellow wallpaper or comments or anything like that they want to say? Okay, so I understand, like, I know our situations and stuff not being here. I do ask, like, specifically, you see the size of the book. I mean, the book is gigantic. I know because I brought one to Quincy the other day. It's very big. I know we're not reading the whole book, but I do ask, these are decent stories. I hope you're reading them. And so I am hopeful we get a couple of people to maybe volunteer to shoot hoops, but all seriousness, we'll be back to the discussion next week for this. And I'm interested, if anybody wants to, I can give you extra points for creating questions, you creating questions about your own story. that could go on the discussion board. So Summer joked about her presentation that there was going to be a quiz at the end, and she didn't give one. But you could create questions for students based on your reading of the article. I would be fine with that, but of course that means you're going to have to do that earlier. So next week's students, the 4 of you, would have to get something to me by early Monday morning, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. So that's all I have, other than talking about the fact we will have discussion next week and we will have presentations. I have to post Quincy's, but that's it. Hopefully Quincy, and I felt so bad. Quincy didn't even go to bed till like 5 in the morning the day his presentation was done. And so then he, because he was up all night working on it, so he looks so tired. But you'll get that in a minute. Last chance for questions before we cancel the meeting, end the meeting, stop the meeting, whatever else. Things I should know, other concerns. I saw some people unmute when I was talking about college decisions, and I know Matthew said Toledo. Anybody else? I don't know if Kylie decided officially, Odell decided officially in hers. I thought she did, but I don't remember for some reason if it was like Roberts Wesleyan or what it was, or Teal or one of those. Anything else from anyone else? And we'll go. She's shaking her head like, no, she doesn't have any idea what I'm talking about, which is fine.
I'm going to SUNY Plattsburgh.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I may ask, Graham, because I know where Plattsburgh is. Why would you go to Plattsburgh? Like, it's literally the furthest SUNY campus from your house.
Yeah, it's one of the only colleges that offer global supply chain logistics in New York State. That is. Okay,
fair enough. That's all right, that's interesting. That is actually a great career to get into. Not like you need my affirmation, but that's a pretty good one to get into. But again, is it at least slightly ironic that it is the furthest SUNY campus from your current house in Blockville? I think it's.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Also, you're close to both Vermont and Canada there, so that's kind of a nice little thing right there. So
closer to them than I am most of New York.
That's correct. I think Plattsburgh is like half an hour away from Canada and maybe an hour from Montreal.
Yeah, it's cold.
Well, there's that. Sure. Okay. All right. Well, Graham, congratulations, Graham. That's cool. Excellent stuff. So Graham is in and Matthew's in and a whole bunch of you are going to Mercyhurst. And anyone else, any other college stuff to know? Because that's always fun to share. Graham looked like he was going to say something or he was just yawning.
Nope.
All right.
Stretching. Yeah.
I am done. I have nothing more to give you today. We did it in almost exactly half an hour. Of course, I'm available by email, so if you have questions, let me know. But aside from that, I hope you have a great week. You are going to be seeing much more of each other in the next couple of weeks as we do presentations, and then our next Zoom meeting will be next Thursday, as it has been. So, on that happy note, enjoy yourself and stay healthy. And Finny, I hope you feel better. And we didn't see Jaden today, so I don't know if we have a puppy floating around or any of that stuff. Because, both cats and dogs apparently can now get coronavirus, at least in New York City. So that's for whatever that's worth. Like the tigers at the Bronx Zoo have coronavirus or something like that. So I don't know. So Jaden, try not to infect your dog.
He's healthy.
Is he? Are you sure? Did he get tested? Are you sure of this?
No, but I'm sure he's healthy.
He hasn't been out fraternizing with other dogs to catch it?
No.
All right. Well, you keep that dog away from other dogs because their community dogs are no good. All those strays, man.
I will.
All right. You guys have fun. Garrett, make sure you check that story out.
Yep, I'm going to.
Okay. And did you get your water from your brother or not? There you go.
Success. We have a water.
Was Garrett properly hydrated by the conclusion of this
Yes.
meeting? And that's all. All right. Very good.
Yep.
All right. Hey, you guys take care, and we will see you very soon.
All right, yeah.
Yep. You too, Mr. Becker.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.